Good evening. Welcome to another edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. My name is Leon Jones, and tonight I'm going to get into a little bit of civics. And the reason why this is important because there are a number of people who have voted or they're talking about politics, and to me, they're not qualified to talk about politics. You can have an opinion on politics, but the information, they're not really teaching anyone anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a civics lesson on the foundation of American government. I mean, right now you have the Democrats. They really don't want to help the Republicans do anything because they don't like Donald Trump. That's not how government should be run. And then you have a lot of ignorant people, including the media and all of your colleges. So this video, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. This should help some of the ignorance that's out there. And what I'm going to do is go through some scenarios and we're going to talk about the American government. Of course, fundamentals you need to know, date, my name. So we're going to start off with the first violation. So we're going to talk about rights. So this is an example. Your name is Mary Strong. You have lived in Boston most of your life and have definite feelings about how Massachusetts is being governed. So when you speak your mind freely, you find yourself arrested and put in an iron device that fits over your head like a mask to prevent you from talking. Well, what is the violation? Well, basically the violation is freedom of speech. We're not a dictatorship. We can speak about anything. In fact, speech that you don't agree with is also protected speech. Your name is Elizabeth Merrill. While you were baking bread this afternoon in your home in Williamsburg, awaiting the return of your husband, an agent of the king arrived to inform that you must shelter 4 British soldiers in your home. Now, again, is this a violation? Well, it depends on where you are. First of all, here in America, we don't have a king. We don't have a monarchy. Now, I'm just basing this off of American government. And of course, the situation took place in Williamsburg, Virginia. Well, I don't need 4 soldiers in my home. Again, that's also a violation because we are not, again, we're not a dictatorship and we don't have a monarchy slash a king. That's your violation. Dictatorship. We're not a dictatorship. Your name is William Adams. You have a warehouse full of goods near Boston Harbor. The King's magistrate gives British officials a writ of assistance that permits them to search homes, stores, and warehouses near the harbor to look for further evidence of smuggling. Well, again, this is why the Tea Party, not the Tea Party back in 2010, why tea was thrown overboard in Boston. You see, in England, they had a monarchy, they had a king. And the United States, for a little bit, was run by England. So in this scenario, you're giving British officials to search homes. Well, America, we don't search homes unless we have a warrant. So basically, in old America, when England ruled America, that was possible. But with America today, that doesn't happen. There's no search and seizure without a warrant. And that'd be my violation. Privacy, against privacy. Your name is James Otis. You represent colonists who have been imprisoned and are being denied the right to a trial by a jury from their own community. You argue that denying their traditional rights as Englishmen is illegal because it violates the British Constitution. Royal Magistrate denies your request and sends you to prison in England for trial. Well, here in America, another country does not rule our country. We're not under the British Constitution. We're under the American Constitution. First of all, when we have juries of our peers, well, we're dealing with due process. This is why you're innocent till you're proven guilty. So again, the violation is no due process. And here in America, we don't send somebody to another country for a trial if the jurisdiction is here. Now I gave you some violations. Now we're going to talk about some terminology. So the first word of terminology is compact, and that's a formal agreement among two parties or states, or it's a formal contract or agreement between or among two parties or states. We have the law of nature referred as to the rules that would prevail in the absence of man-made laws. Natural law is conceived to contain standards of justice that apply to all people. And then we have sovereignty, which is supreme power in a state. Democratic theory states that the people as a whole are sovereign. Then we have writs of assistance, document giving and government authority the power to search and seize property without restrictions. Well, again, that would have worked here in America, but as I had that third violation, it wasn't in America, it was in Britain. All right, checks and balances. That's basically distributing and balancing the powers of government among different branches so that no one branch can dominate the others. And we have veto. It's the right of a branch government to reject a proposed law that has been passed by another branch in an effort to delay or prevent its enactment. So when we have a veto, what happens is the legislatures will have bills, whether they're congressional or senatorial, and if both branches of Congress or House of Congress, they agree on the bill, they send it to the president. The president signs the bill into law, or the president can veto the bill. If the bill is vetoed, it comes right back down. Now, what's not said here is a veto can be overridden by, I believe it's 2/3 or 3/4 of the House and Senate. That's where the checks and balances are. It basically doesn't give one branch more authority than the others. Then we have a constituent. It's a person represented by an elected official, citizen of a state, citizen of a district. Main ideas and arguments in the Declaration of Independence. Number one, natural rights. So if a government deprives the people of their natural rights, life, liberty, and property, then the people have the right to change or abolish the government and to form a new government. And we have human equality. Humans are equal in the sense that neither God nor nature has appointed some at birth to rule over others. Thus, humans are politically equal. Legitimate, the right to rule must be based on agreement among equal civic members. Number one, violations committed by the king, seeking to destroy authority of colonial legislatures, obstructing the administration of justice by refusing to approve laws for support of the colonial judiciary, and making judges dependent upon his will, keeping standing armies among the people in time of peace without the approval of the colonial legislature, hoarding soldiers among the civilian population. Now, again, this is what the PowerPoint gave. This isn't my PowerPoint, so I gave you my own opinion. So basically, if you follow the first four violations, these are the answers. Number 5, imposing taxes without consent of those being taxed, depriving colonists of the right by trial and jury of their peers. What I said, altering colonial charters, abolishing laws, and fundamentally changing the constitutions of colonial governments. So, what do you think? The Declaration of Independence states that people have a right to abolish their government when is revolution necessary. What were the colonists' major objections to British policies? What problems identified in the Declaration would have to be corrected for governments created after American independence to be legitimate? Why did the colonists resist British control? How do you characterize government today in the terms of its involvement in the lives of citizens? So, what can you do as a citizen? Well, we can protest, we can vote, we can volunteer in the military. Legislative supremacy. The legislative branch was considered the most capable of reflecting the will of the people. Voters determined who their representatives would be and could remove them if they believed someone else would be better to represent them. The executive branch was seen to be less accountable to the people and should not be trusted with much power. That's the president. Judges should also not be trusted with too much power. Judges are to interpret law. And right now, what you have are activist judges. A number of them are Biden's judges. And I believe that these judges have too much power and should be removed. Okay, who are these people? Well, that's John McCain. And I forgot who these individuals are, but he was a senator. Now you have early state constitutions prior to our Constitution. So you have political guarantees, right to vote, free, frequent elections, freedom of speech, freedom of press, right to petition government to redress grievances with no taxation without representation. Again, political guarantees, right to vote, free or frequent elections, freedom of speech, freedom of press, right to petition government to redress grievances, no taxation without representation, due process, rights to counsel, trial, and jury of one's peers, protection from legal searches, protection from forced self-incrimination, excessive bail fines, and cruel and unusual punishment. And here are some critical thinking questions. What is the greatest challenge to individual rights in our nation today? Does the government have too much power or control over your life? Should we place greater limits on how long people can serve in the elected positions? We have a fair system of justice in the country. You can answer those questions in my comment section. Again, I'm giving you a video on what we call civics. Random thoughts on government. Do you trust those in power to always tell you the hard truth, especially if it would hurt them at election time? How is it possible that every president since Jimmy Carter has promised to lower our dependence on foreign oil, but now we import more oil than ever from countries that do us harm? Do you believe that our elected leaders in Washington, D.C. see your face when they make decisions, or instead the faces of those who richly contribute to their campaigns? Believe our public servants have your best interest at heart and will defend your life, liberty, and property? And the answer is no. Most of our elected leaders have been bought and paid off by lobbyist groups. They really have no interest in the people, but they will come out and pitch all the bullshit to us every 2 to 4 years. Agree or disagree? I have a right to life, liberty, and property, but there's no guarantee of equal results. Well, in society, you have a lot of people fighting for equal results. Now, it must be determined what are equal results. Well, anything that has an equal result is called equity. No such thing as equal results. Equal opportunity may not give us the same results, but it'll just give us an opportunity to do what we would like to do, regardless of the consequences. Now, I must also try to be a more honest person than I was yesterday. Is common sense completely dead in America today? I say yes. There aren't enough citizens willing to do hard work that self-rule requires. Our society has become one rather be to be cared for, fed, clothed, and told what is best for us by parent-like state. True. It's the Democrats right there. They want to tell us how we should live our lives instead of allowing us to do what is best for us. The Democrats think they know more than we do of what's best for us. What would you say? Please write down and share. Are America's values? Again, you can do this in my comment section. What are America's beliefs? Our place in the world? The obligation of America's citizens to each other. Is the role of a citizen in society? What is the role of a citizen in society? What is the role of government in society? Do we have any left? Common sense. Common sense. Thomas Paine's argument against British rule. America was not a British nation. It was composed of influences and people from all of Europe. Being part of Great Britain would drag America into unnecessary European wars. Britain ruled the colonies for its own benefit and did not consider the best interest of the colonists in governing them. Paine argued it was ridiculous for an island to rule a continent. I agree. Quotes from Thomas Paine's Common Sense. I offer nothing more than simple facts, plain arguments, and common sense. Time makes more converts than reason. Society in every state is a blessing, but government, even in its best state, is but a necessary evil. Immediate necessity makes many things convenient, which, if continued, would grow into oppressions. The present state of America is truly alarming to every man who is capable of reflection. Thoughts from our founders. Firearms are second only to the Constitution in importance. Firearms are second only to the Constitution in importance. They are the people's liberties, teeth. George Washington. If the freedom of speech is taken away, then dumb and silent, we may be led like sheep to the slaughter. George Washington. A democracy is nothing more than mob rule, where 51% of the people may take away the rights of the other 49%. Thomas Jefferson. Advertisements, which are commercials, marketing, but advertisements contain the only truths to be relied on in a newspaper. Thomas Jefferson. Then you have the founders. More thoughts from our founders. A pure democracy is a society consisting of a small number of citizens who assemble and administer the government in person. James Madison. All men having power ought to be distrusted to a certain degree. James Madison. If men were angels, no government would be necessary. James Madison. Because power corrupts, society's demands for moral authority and character increase as the importance of the position increases. Again, because power corrupts, society's demands for moral authority and character increase as the importance of the position increases. John Adams. Recognize that the individual's rights to political and personal liberty are at risk if the government has too much power or too little power. Must be constitutional limits upon the power of government in order to protect the rights of all members of a community. And a good government in a democracy is both efficiency limit. Again, a good government in a democracy is both sufficiently limited and empowered by a constitution to which the people have consented for the achievement of order that ensures liberty. All by James Madison. Arguments for democracy. And by the way, we're not a democracy, we are a republic. So, number one, we enhance the individual's sense of dignity and self-worth. We also encourage individuals to promote the well-being of their community. We draw upon the collective wisdom of the people in making decisions. We also protect the equal rights of all persons to life, liberty, and property. We make rulers accountable to the people they rule. And we also justify the legitimacy of government by basing it on a popular consent. Also, when it comes to arguing against democracy, it governs inefficiently. Again, when we talk about democracy, we are not a democracy. Why? Because it governs inefficiently due to excessive deliberation and decision making. It governs ineptly because the most able persons are not selected to rule. And unwise decisions are made due to pandering to public opinion, which is true. It erodes political and social authority and unity by encouraging criticism and, of course, dissent. Civic education. Democracy depends upon the competent participation of its citizens, and that people must be educated in a democracy. Civility, honesty, charity, compassion, courage, loyalty, patriotism, and self-restraint must be taught. Facts, not being taught very well in the public school system. Common good refers to collective welfare of the community, also may refer to the individual welfare of each person in the community. While most democracies have some tension between the perceived rights and interests of individuals and the common good. When we talk about welfare, we don't talk about receiving state-funded welfare. We talk about the individual, how people are doing in their community. In some communities, like Black communities, a number of Blacks are not doing too well because they depend on government for their sovereignty. Constitution, the basic law and general plan of government or people within a country. Purposes, powers, and limitations of government are prescribed in the Constitution. The Constitution also sets forth the way people are governed or ruled. Diversity. What does it mean? A diversity in ideas and interests, a diversity in social and political groups, a diversity in race, religion, and ethnicity, a diversity in centers of power. Elections. They occur regularly. They should be free, fair, and competitive, in which practically all of the people of the country can vote to select their representatives in government. As you know, that doesn't always happen. Equality. No one is above or beyond the reach of the law. No one is entitled to unfair advantages or subjected to unequal penalties based on a law. Founders were committed to establishing a government that would guarantee equally to all individuals under its authority, security, or liberty based on the rule of law. Federalism is the division of governmental powers between a central national government and state governments within the country. Each level of government can separately exercise powers directed upon the people under its authority. Independent government. And when we talk about independent government, it's enumerating and listing the number of the governmental powers. Branches of government are separated. Power is decentralized through the society by a kind of federal system that enables the sharing of powers by national and local units of government. People can limit the power of government by holding representatives accountable to them. How does the public do this? They vote. They attend town hall meetings. But again, it's elections. Now, a broad range of rights included in the Constitution, which the government is prohibited from denying to the people. Independent media, which is a big one. Mass media are privately owned. They are free of government control. They are free to transmit information and ideas about government and public affairs to people. They can criticize government officials and offer alternative opinions about current events and issues. All true. See CNN, MSNBC, they do it every day. Of course, you see Fox, Newsmax, News Nation, they also do it as well. Judicial independence. Independent in order to insulate its members from punitive or coercive actions by the legislative and executive branches of government. An independent judiciary, in theory, can make fair decisions that uphold the rule of law. Justice is achieved when everyone receives what is due to him or her. It's achieved when persons with equal qualifications receive equal treatment from the government. Occurs when a government equally guarantees the rights of each person within its authority. Liberty. Person who has this is free to make choices about what to do or what to say during the course of the day. So government is to protect and promote the liberty of individuals. James Madison said, a standing threat to liberty is posed by insufficient constitutional limits on government. Well, everybody needs to learn that piece of paper. Free market economy, system based on rights to private property and free enterprise, refers to a flexible system for producing and distributing the goods and services that people need and want. This type of economy involves competition amongst producers and sellers of goods and services for consumers, just like capitalism. Popular sovereignty, a government based on the consent of people. It's also government's source of authority is the people, and its power is not legitimate if it disregards the will of the people. Republic, and this is what we are. We're not a democracy, we are a republic. It's a form of government based on the consent of the people and operated by representatives elected by the people. Hereditary, rule by a monarch or autocratic class is prohibited. In other words, we don't have a monarch or a king. Every state in our union is guaranteed a Republican form of government. Moving on, rights. A constitution in a democracy guarantees the rights of the people. A right is a person's justifiable claim protected by law to act or be treated in a certain way. Rights of free speech, press, assembly, association, and of course, petition. free exercise of religion and privacy in one's home or place of business and use of private property for personal benefit. And we're getting into rule of law. Okay, we just did rights, rule of law now. Laws, when it comes to rule of law, laws to be enforced equally and impartially. No one is above the law, and everyone is under the authority of the Constitution, is obligated equally to obey the law. Laws are reasonable and enforceable. Laws are not enacted or enforced retroactively. Separation of powers, sharing power among the three branches of government through checks and balances is the basic constitutional means for achieving limited government, thereby protecting the people from governmental abuses. So no one branch of the government, in theory, notice what I said, in theory, is to accumulate too much power. And last but not least, virtue. Virtue is defined as excellence in the character of a person. Refers to a desirable disposition which can prompt individuals to be good persons and do good things in regard to others in the community. Since ancient times, political philosophers have stressed the importance of virtue, that's virtue, in the establishment and the eminence of good government. And there you have it. Overall, that's what government should be doing. Now, does it do it? Not necessarily. In fact, I just believe government has too much power. It's way too partisan. Government has a lot of agendas, and we're supposed to be a free market economy. A lot of corruption in government because government officials abuse the system. And you have people who've been establishment Republicans, establishment Democrats. That's what they've done. And that's why they don't like what's going on now. And then what the government does, they want people to be ignorant so they'll be afraid of their government. And Democrats are especially good at that because they are constantly utilizing a lot of fear mongering tactics. A number of them are very childish. They're very, very childish. I mean, if you don't believe me, look at that congressional, I don't even call it a hearing. When President Trump went out there to the American people, to Congress, to let the American people know what was going on after 43 days in office. And you still have people fear mongering, particularly on the left. And the left, they want to stay in power. And that's what's definitely going on. A number of these individuals, on the Democrats, they haven't grown up. And every election, they use identity politics, which identity politics doesn't work. This is why you need to be smart. You need to understand civics. And most people do not understand government. Why? Because we've been indoctrinated to believe what everybody has taught us in school. But you have to go beyond that and do a little bit more research. And when you do more research, you will find out that what you heard in school was a complete lie. Again, a lot of your politicians and your elected officials, government today, and I believe government has too much power, they're not for us. They only call on us when it comes to election time. Many of them promise the world and never deliver. The problem with government right now, I see there are no term limits unless you are the president and vice president. The judges, most of them, they're activist judges. The Democrats are going through the courts to stop some of Trump's executive orders. A lot of the appointees are Bush appointees. They're activist judges. Judges should not have any influence on policy. Judges are to interpret the law. But how do the judges get all this power? Then they're going up to the Supreme Court. I mean, you just heard today that it was a 5-4 decision on the U.S. aid that Trump is supposed to continue to release taxpayer money to these foreign entities under U.S. aid. And that's exactly what it is. Now, what's going to happen is they're going to be going back and forth from the lower court to the upper court. That's when you give the courts too much power. The court is, in my humble opinion, because they don't agree with the decision to take away some of the taxpayer money to some of these organizations under USA, some of them might be getting a cut of that money. Again, a lot of your politicians have been bought and paid for. And when you don't know what's going on, this is what particularly the left wants to happen. They don't want people who are informed. In fact, the reason why the left wanted immigration, they wanted more people to come in so they can give more welfare benefits so they would vote for them. They would change the elections. And when you have a society that is uneducated, they're easily influenced. And what happens? We get a type of government that we don't want, where government is taking over the economy. We're not owning anything. See, I just read it to you. We have property, free market, we own, but really, some of these Democrats out here, they don't want people to own anything. They want employees, not employers. They want to be the employer. They want to decide what's best for us. And in the end, it's very dangerous. This is why I did tonight's video, so it could give individuals some wake up to what happens when you have too much government. Now, you can't have too little government either. And you have anarchy. Government is supposed to protect our rights. It's not supposed to be confiscatory, take everything away from us. In other words, we don't live in a communist state. We're not Ukraine, we're not China, we're not Russia, we're not Cuba. But you have some Democrats, they want us to be like that type of country, where the government takes and they give us what's left over. And a number of our government officials are delusional. They're making their money, but they won't tell us how we can make money. They want to constantly utilize fear mongering. They want to take more money away from us. And in the end, when you have a dumb electorate, dummies vote here in America. When there's no common sense, you have non-educated people, the Democrats, or people who want an authoritarian type of government will change this government. But that will only happen if we allow it. So again, take a look at this video, go over the PowerPoint, give you information on how government should work. Now, it's all in theory. You take what I've discussed in this video and you apply it to the real world. My question to you all is, do you want unlimited government, or do you want limited government? Or let me pose this question in a much better tone. Do you want an authoritarian type of government? Or do you want a government that believes in free market? Because overall, you need government either way. I believe if you have too much government, too much control over our lives. If you have too little government, you have not enough government. I mean, laws are already going to be broken, but you're going to have more laws broken. So there needs to be a balance. Bottom line, people need to know how government works. So what I'm saying is this: we have choices. You want limited government or you want big government? Big government, you have less privacy. Smaller government, you have more privacy. But in the end, it's up to us as citizens to determine what type of government is best for us. And this is why we need to be smart, because when you have a number of people who depend on government and you give them the microphone, they want bigger government. Why? Because they're not working. Even though they're able-bodied, they're the parasites. Non-parasitic people like myself, we want reasonable people running this country. Free market. That gets you where you want to go. And when it comes to equality, it's equal opportunity. We will never have equal results. That's asinine. And again, these Democrats, with all the delusion, the word I want to use, they're stuck in arrested development. They're children. They're on a schoolyard, they got all these dumb ideas, and they know they don't work. What they're trying to do. See, the people you're going to convince are the dumb people. People who are reading, you can't convince. But in the end, you have to ask yourselves this question: what type of government do you want? You want an authoritarian style government, or you want a government that believes in free market? Tell me what you think, because the choice is yours. And that's my commentary for this edition of the 401 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. If you like what I just presented, please comment, share, and subscribe. And if you are looking for some STEM content, check out my second channel, the QCIS channel. It's also on YouTube. So here's where you can find me. 401 Talk Zone radio show channel. You can find me on YouTube, Rumble, X, formerly Twitter, and Truth Social. And for the QCIS channel, you can find me on YouTube, also X, formerly Twitter, and of course, you can find me on LinkedIn. And in the end, be blessed for what you have. Don't worry about what you don't have. Always know that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. If it doesn't apply, let it fly. But if the shoe fits, wear it. If you don't like the shoe, change it. And once again, thank you for listening to this edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. Till next time, my name is Leon Jones. I want you all to have a wonderful and gracious evening. God bless you. I'm out.